Every business, it has options to give your workers control over parts or all of the system. I have defined in my system 3 workers, and they're listed here. And each of them has a corresponding checkbox to the various permissions that we have established. Now, we started this system of permissions a couple years ago, and we started with just 30, but it's grown to over 50 now with derivative controls as well. And so the controls that each worker can have with the system is divided across scheduling, billing, clients and staff and pets, so each other as well. And when I go through these, there might seem to be some redundancies, but that's actually not true. It's just scenarios where we're narrowing down their control. So if I start from the top, book assigned clients. What is an assigned client? That's a derivative control. In pet care, if I go to any client in the system and I click on Abby, for example, Abby, the customer, might be assigned to one or more workers. So you have staff, and I'll just click that here. And I've assigned 2 staff members, okay? And so if I go back to the permissions, if Linda or Stacy had that permission turned on, it's from that context, okay? So staff, permissions. If Linda's checked here, that means she can book that customer we just saw because that customer is assigned to her. Okay. Make sense? Yeah. Now, all workers can view their appointments if it somehow found itself on their calendar. How it gets on their calendar is controlled by the pet business owner. When they have appointments assigned to them, the question is, can they make changes to those appointments? Those are in addition to being able to check in, check out at pictures and notes. Check in, check out at pictures and notes are just default controls, very, very basic ones for anybody to work with. Updating own appointments means that they can modify advanced elements within the appointment, like reminders or checklists that you've added custom into this appointment as a service, things like that. Okay. Adding notes to own appointments. So maybe you don't want them to be able to add notes. That's happened. So we added this custom field for that to be an option for the manager to decide whether the worker can do it or not. Fair enough? Yeah. Check in, check out, and complete own appointments is something that's inherent in the experience for the worker. It's not something that's an option to not have. They have to do something if they're assigned a job. Accept and decline own appointment requests. In the system, pet owners book, and somebody has to accept and decline. It can either be some person assigned to that type of work, like a dispatcher, somebody who does administrative effort, or the manager of the business, or it could be the worker themselves. Because we have availability technology, you may have seen that the pet owner can choose which worker they want to work with, and that's an option that can be turned on or off. But regardless, if it is something that you want your workers to accept because it'll show on their calendar or decline, then this is the option to work with. Okay. Okay, so you can control whether they can accept or decline the job. View all appointments of assigned clients. Makes sense. Mm-hmm. These could be clients that are assigned to somebody else or scheduled for somebody else in your business to work with. But this is an option to view even those appointments as well, for whatever reason. Okay. We've had requests to add this field, this control. Update appointments of assigned clients. So again, they could be assigned to Stacy, for example, but maybe they're being serviced by somebody else. So do you want to give Stacy the option to update those appointments as well? Okay. Accept, decline appointment requests from assigned clients. Similarly, it might not be an appointment that's even assigned to Stacy, even though it's an assigned client from the client's profile perspective. Mm-hmm. Book only assigned services. So that's when, if we go into any of one of the services, you define whether Stacy is capable of a certain service. So if Stacy was a groomer, you would never assign her to a dog walking service when you're setting up the dog walking service. So really, you can set it up in such a way that if you assigned her to, let's say, a grooming service, then by enabling this, she can book that service on behalf of your business
Got it.
for whichever clients she's able to see.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's options, book any client. This is already managerial level controls.
Mm-hmm.
View all appointments, update all appointments. This has nothing to do with assigned anymore. This is the whole business. Fair enough?
Yes.
Change the status of appointments. Sometimes workers accidentally check into the wrong appointment or check out at the wrong time. They can undo that with this control enabled for them.
Okay.
Set the worker of appointments. Make sense?
Yeah.
This is delegation. So that's, again, somebody who can just dispatch different people for different tasks. Book all services. So not just book assigned services, but any service. Delete any appointment. All controls for scheduling. Billing. Create invoices for assigned clients. Okay, so when the job is done, for example, she'll see the option to invoice.
Okay.
She can actually invoice before the job starts, as long as it's an assigned client. If the invoice is theirs, they have certain options because they were the ones that created it in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they can create it or not is a different question.
Okay, so if you can create it, then
you can do certain things if it's your invoice, okay, that you created. You being the worker in this case. View invoices of assigned clients. Update invoices of assigned clients. Delete and cancel those invoices. These are all mutually exclusive controls. And these are clients that they may have not serviced. They may have been clients that have been serviced by a colleague, but since they're assigned to them as well, they can maybe view the invoices. That's an option. It just depends on the business model. Update the status of a client's invoice. Invoices can be partially paid. They can be unpaid. They can be paid by different channels, and they can be refunded, for example. So depending on the status, there's a lot of status options. Actually, if I were to show you high level, I'll look at a bill here. This is my billing history. Here are all the options. We have a very mature invoicing and billing system. Okay, so going back to the permissions, that's what that is in regards to. View invoices of any client, similar to assigned clients, but any client in the business, in the system. So now we're getting into the create an invoice for any client. Update any invoice. Delete any invoice. Cancel any invoice. Maybe they can do all those things, but maybe they can't charge the cards of any client, because the system has cards on file or bank accounts that can be charged from an ACH perspective on file. So they can maybe choose one and charge the bill to the client. Right? In another case, you can maybe add a card, okay, by controlling certain profile elements of the client, but you can't charge it. Or maybe you can charge the card that's already there, stuff like that. Update the status of any invoice. So this is already, managerial level controls for each individual worker. Then you have pets. View all pets, same as manager. Add a pet, same as manager. Edit all pets. Okay, so these are all mutually exclusive controls. Maybe it's nice to see the pets. Some businesses are worried that, the employee might walk out on them and take all their customers.
Right.
I'm just giving a high level example out of hundreds that I've heard. So these kind of address a lot of those concerns. View pets of assigned clients, for example. You're going to work with these pets at some point, or these clients, so you might as well only see the ones that you're assigned. This has to do a lot with applications where they have different areas. You have a city, each region or turf, quote unquote, is handled by different third-party contractors, maybe. So they're assigned certain clients from their regions, and therefore all this assigned stuff makes sense, So it depends on this application. We've generalized the terminology, but it has different applications. Clients and staff, view all clients, add a client, edit all clients, similar to pets, but the clients that own them.
Okay.
And then the last one here is staff. So if they want to see what's going on with other staff members, and if you want to grant them as a business owner that control. So for example, this is the weekly view. That's Amanda, John, and Linda working that week. Just choose whatever calendar you want and see what they're up to. That's what the permission does.
Nice.
So in this case, this is just a lot of double bookings, but these are the workers for different days up top.
Okay.
And essentially that highlights the permissions. The permissions are actually evolving really on a monthly basis. We have 3 in the funnel right now to release in terms of additional controls. Each permission is like an art because it has applications in different parts of the system in a very nuanced way. And so I'd say there's quite like thousands of paths that each of these permissions go to make it, help you run your business.
Mm-hmm.
And so we develop based on requests. So every business that needs a new kind of permission, we regularly release it to address their needs, which is why we have over 50 now versus the 30 we started off with. The 30 we started off with were just for a couple of large pet sitting brands. They had third-party contractors running throughout California, hundreds of them, and they needed a way to manage them. But since then, we've had resorts and groomers and trainers, for example. They just needed more controls, and that's why you're seeing over 50 today.
Okay. Nice.
And that concludes that part.
No, that's really cool. And it's great that it's growing.